Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Apex Office Hours. Firstly, Happy New Year to everyone, and thanks for giving us your time today. Today, we're kicking off 2020 with a special edition of Apex Office Hours. When we first kicked off Apex Office Hours back in 2018, it was something called Ask Me Anything. And we thought, what better way to kick off the new year than an Ask Me Anything with everybody from the Apex product development team. So as many people as possible from our team are here to help answer effectively any question that you might have. You're able to ask a question anytime during this. Just understand that your question should have some broad applicability to attendees. So if you say, how do I debug something, or I'm getting an Aura error, this is probably not the best forum for that. I'm going to kick this off with an introduction, and then I'm going to go very quickly through about 5 minutes of just some news and general announcements. We're going to have a very short 5-minute demonstration from David Bliss showcasing some new functionality coming in Apex 20.1. And then we really want this to be about you and any questions that you might have and what we can help with. Okay? So we always like to show this slide, and I just want to highlight the people on the illustrious Oracle Apex product development team. And I'm going to just go down the list here. We have with us today Christina, Karsten, Anthony, David, John, Patrick, Mark, Bob, Alan, Jacob, Vlad, Sharon, Christian, Mike, Bo, Kyle, me, Carlos, Tim, Salim, Christian, Jason, Adam, Shakib, Hillary, Chaitanya, Sean, David, Doug, Menno, and Monica. And this is a growing team, extraordinarily competent and professional, and as my wife likes to say, very high quality people. And all I can say is we're not done growing yet. As a plug for next month's office hours, we are being graced with Vincent Morneau from InSum Solutions, and he's going to present a topic, Oracle Apex and progressive web apps. So it's going to be exactly at the same time, just on February 20th. For those who don't know, thanks to you, the community, we were recognized, Oracle Apex was, with the Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice Awards. So these are vetted reviews of various software solutions, and thanks to you, we were one of 4 low-code application vendors who received this distinction. And I have a QR code there if you wish to go research this further. Beyond just Gartner Peer Insights, there's also another review site called Trust Radius, and there were also a large number of, I would say, very accurate and very high reviews for Oracle Apex here. Starting in just over a week's time, we are trying to reach out and cultivate new communities around the world for Oracle Apex. And we are kicking off a tour for the Middle East and Africa. And we're going to Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and Kenya. And if you wish to see more, scan that QR code there. A common question that we see on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and email is, when will Apex 19.2 be available on Autonomous Database Shared or serverless? I think it's called shared, Autonomous Database Shared. And I think of the gospel hymn, soon and very soon. Just understand that we're working very hard on this, and we expect this to happen very soon. Just so you understand, we will upgrade to Apex 19.2 the free services for Autonomous Database, and then we will do paid production after that. I was in a podcast with Jürgen Schuster last week, along with Martin Diffie D'Souza, and one of the questions was about, will a customer have the ability to determine when they upgrade to Apex, the next version of Apex on Autonomous Database? And a gentleman from the UK, Richard Allen, contacted me and proposed a decent idea, suggesting that maybe someone could defer, right? If they're an Autonomous Database customer, they might flip some flag and say, on this database, hold off on the next upgrade till I give you the green light. And we are reviewing the options for this now. So you never know what great suggestions we get from the community, and this is a great one. Some announcements. For Apex 20.1, we are announcing the deprecation of Internet Explorer 11. And this is really consistent with the rest of the industry overall. We wish to uptake the next version of Oracle Jet, and they as well are dropping support for Internet Explorer. This is a little bit of a delicate situation because we have many customers who they have standardized on IE. And Patrick Wolf sent to me this morning a link announcing Microsoft is announcing in Edge they will have an IE mode. So you will be able to use Edge, but for those sites which require explicitly Internet Explorer 11, you can run in that mode. And I have a QR code there for that. For Apex 20.1, which is our next release, we will actually not have a hosted early adopter. We're in a little bit of a compressed timeline, and as well, we are not really introducing application changing functionality. So we will do our internal acceptance testing. We have a large production instance of Apex inside of Oracle that has more than 5,000 workspaces, and we will upgrade this to Apex 20.1 first. So trust me when I say this will still be a well-vetted release, as it always is. Also in Apex 20.1, we're announcing the deprecation of jQuery UI. Now, don't confuse this with jQuery. That's going to still be a part of Apex, and we rely upon this. But the jQuery UI library itself has effectively gone dormant, and this is a bit of a risk because very often there are more and more security exceptions being, security issues being discovered in older JavaScript libraries. And the longer we hang on to a dormant library, the greater risk we have. So where the jQuery UI is used within Apex, we're going to write our own JavaScript functions and support those, certainly for our internal use. But if you use jQuery UI in your application or plugins after 20.1, then you'll need to include that yourself. ORDS, or Oracle REST Data Services, in the latest release 19.4, they have removed any ability to do FOP-based printing. Now, this was de-supported as of the last release, Apex 19.2, but in ORDS 19.4, it is completely gone. There will be some new built-in PDF export capabilities natively in Apex 20.1. It's going to be initially limited, and then we're going to expand that. We do have some improved support for integration with Apex Office Print in Apex 20.1, a third-party product. And then please understand that printing via Oracle BI Publisher remains supported. Not everybody is aware of our bundle patch, but with every release, instead of having an accumulation of small one-off bug fixes available on My Oracle Support, what we do is take high priority bug fixes and bundle them together. So you can download this from My Oracle Support, apply it to your latest version of Apex, and then just please understand that in our compressed 6-month release cycle, we will augment and add additional bug fixes to this. So it is completely rerunnable, and we are working on a method for you to determine Do I have the latest version of the bundle patch or not? Okay. The extended support for Oracle Database 11.2 that actually ends in December 2020. And so Apex 20.1 is going to be the last version of Apex where we support Database 11.2. And then going forward in Apex 20.2, which should come out later in 2020, the minimum database version will be Oracle Database 20.12.1. And I have a QR code there for the timeline. This is the document from Oracle where we list effectively the support timeline for all products. Today, there are three options for to front-end Apex with a web listener. It could be Oracle REST Data Services, the embedded PL SQL Gateway, and Oracle HTTP Server and Mod PL SQL. Mod PL SQL was announced as deprecated from Oracle, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. It's effectively supported up until I think 2022, 2021, something like that. But please understand that in Apex 20.1, we are announcing deprecation of the embedded PL SQL Gateway and Mod PL SQL. And in Apex 20.2, the only version that we will support is Oracle REST Data Services, which has been our strategic direction. It's what we use across the cloud. Most Oracle Apex customers are doing this, and certainly it will help us improve our documentation because we have installation paths for every one of these web listeners, and ORDS is going to be the only one we support as of Apex 20.2. Announced just this week by Chaitanya on our team is the Apex 19.2 curriculum. So we have updated labs and PowerPoints and instructions. And for those who don't know, this is targeted at partners, at universities, at colleges, anybody who wants to offer a curriculum based on Apex. You're able to download this and use it for free. And also Oracle Academy, which works with universities around the world. They are also updating their curriculum. And I have a QR code there for the announcement of this latest release. And then just some quick URLs for everybody who they don't know. If you want to look at the latest statement of direction for Apex, rather than target this as specific releases, we have short-term targets and long-term targets. And that's here at apex.oracle.com/SOD. We have a wide collection of hands-on labs that work both Apex on premises, apex.oracle.com, and also on Autonomous Database. And you can access these at apex.oracle.com/HOLS. Somebody yesterday on Twitter saw Salim from our team give a presentation at Oracle Open World Dubai and asked if he could have the presentation. And I pointed this gentleman to this site that we have, apex.oracle.com/presentations, because often people say, gee, I'm trying to promote Apex inside my company. How can I do that? And please understand that we have a link here. And ultimately, we make even the native PowerPoints available. Okay. And then if you want a link to all shortcuts that we have associated with Apex, you can go to apex.oracle.com/shortcuts. Okay. So what I'm going to do is hand this over to David Bliss, and David's going to give a 5-minute demo or less of an upcoming feature we have in Apex 20.1. And I think I stopped sharing. David?
Hi, everybody. As Joel said, we have a new feature coming out with Apex 20.1. And it's really an extension of a feature that probably a lot of people didn't know existed. There is a command line tool out there called Apex Export, and it previously would allow you to have to do an export from the command line, but you could do it in a split mode, which would, in effect, instead of having one large export file, it would create separate files for all the various pages and components. So you can read about the export out there in the documentation. But so what I've done here is my quick demo here. I've created our sample database application. I've made a few changes to it. You can see we have our cool home and our cool customers. And I'm going to go ahead and show how you might use this export zip. So using the standard export utility that we had built into Apex, you previously couldn't create this split version. But now when you come in, you'll see that you have an export as zip option. So by doing your standard export, creates my zip file. And I can now unzip this. And you can see that it creates everything split out. So you can run either the install script, or you can run any of these individual pages, which is an enhancement to the previous version. So, but let's go ahead and see something else you might do here when it comes to lifecycle management. I can take this and now I can do a SVN or Git or anything you have. I have an SVN service running here. So I can do a SVN add of my application. Let's go ahead and commit that. Check in. So now I've just created my application here. I've checked everything into SVN. While that's running, let's go ahead and make some changes back to our app. As I said before, I made this a cool application. We can just make some simple changes for demonstration purposes. We can remove our cool from here. Get rid of our cool customers, cool products. So we do something like that. While we're at it, let's go ahead. Let that save. Let's go over to our navigation. Share components, navigation. And let's also get rid of our references here. So we're going back to the old application. Now, what's interesting about this is, so we can remove this guy. I can come back here, run this app now. You know, we could see that I've removed all these cool references, so nothing's there anymore. But let's go ahead and re-export just as a demonstration here. So as I re-export my application, this is generating everything again. Go ahead and replace that. This time, let's go ahead and unzip my file here. And you can see it unzipped everything, but if I do a SVN stat, the only thing that changed were just my page and my navigation. So it's pretty simple to, you know, I could take this, I can now do a SVN commit, I could check everything in. What's nice about that is if you have this connected in with something like Jenkins or Hudson or any other automated build, you can get the notification that these files were updated and just run those individual files. If I decide I don't want to actually have that same, those files out there, I can do an SVN revert. Let me go ahead and get rid of those files. Oops, sorry, F100. Actually, I need to -R. Let me go ahead and revert those. I can come back over here to my SQL developer and show that goes back to the ones before we had the cool text removed. If I run these, let's make our application cool again. So when I rerun that, we can get everything back. So we can use this very quickly and easily with our any type of SVN, Git, CVS if you're really old, and have this integrated in with your version control, and also makes it easy to do a small piecewise deployment in using the automated, something like Jenkins or Hudson or any of these automated tools. So that's my quick demonstration for 5 minutes.
Outstanding. Thanks, David.
Sure.
David, you might want to stop sharing too, if you don't mind.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead and get to some questions here. They're rolling in, and I'll begin by asking one here right now. Okay, and I'll put the team. I'll give them a surprise here. So Eric Olson says, the deprecation of jQuery UI is a pretty big deal. Did you say you will be writing, documenting, supporting your own versions? For example, there is no way to create the text field with autocomplete item in a classic report, and I use the jQuery UI autocomplete widget for that. So, Mark, would you like to address that, please?
I think I'll pass it on to John Snyder's, please.
Sure. So you picked a tricky example with the autocomplete specifically. We don't use the autocomplete. We're using the Jet one, and I would recommend that you use Jet as well. Then the trouble there is that Jet has changed their implementation for autocomplete a couple of times over the past few releases, and we're still catching up with them as well. But the general question is, we're heavily invested in particular widgets that come with jQuery UI, specifically the dialogue and the underlying core of the widget factory, which we have based a number of our widgets on. And we'll need to support that and maintain that going forward for our own benefit. And so, but the deprecation notice is basically letting you know that you may want to stay away from other things like slider and spinner and the things that are there that Apex doesn't use. And you can probably find better alternatives in other libraries or possibly within Jet, which we will continue to ship.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, John. I have one here for Jason Straub. iPad asks, what does the new remote deployment button in Apex 20.1 do?
That's a good question. We just saw that in David's demo. But what would allow you to do is if you set up a REST-enabled remote SQL server, for example, autonomous database, so any of your autonomous databases, workspaces where you enable REST-enabled SQL on, you can set up that connection and then you go through a similar UI as application export, but you just pick that REST-enabled remote deployment server and you just click deploy and it'll send your application over to that remote server, such as autonomous database. You can choose to install supporting objects as well. So that's how you could get your objects over and your DML over as well. So that's what that will do in 20.1, hopefully.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Jason.
Sure.
Jürgen Schuster asks, this is actually a good question. When you're on a 1-year upgrade cycle, what do you recommend? The .1 version or the .2 version? Mark, would you like to take this? I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. Either one. We do not have the concept of the .2 being kind of like the rounding out of the .1 or anything like that. All of these are complete releases. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but there's no this is the stable or long-term release concept just yet. So either one would work. I think you should look at when you plan on upgrading and pick the most recent one.
And I should add as well that rather than these large monolithic releases that we've had in the past, we're introducing smaller amounts of functionality in each 6-month cycle. So it should not be as much of a big bang. And also we've improved the upgrade so that there is less and less outage for any type of Apex upgrade. So hopefully we're trying to make this a little more palatable. Okay. Peter asked, with recent deprecation of Apache FOP support in ORDS 19.2, when can we expect alternative report generation mechanism? And any hints on what can it be features? So I'll either leave this to Mark or Menno. With a safe harbor being given here. So either Mark or Menno, please.
No, if you like.
Yeah, sure. So it's true. We're building a PL SQL-based PDF solution, a low-based PDF engine in Oracle Apex. And what you will see in Apex 20.1 is that you can download an interactive grid with highlighting, with control breaks, with column groups, and download it as a PDF. So that will be the first thing we do. Looking into the future, we will do the classic reports and the interactive reports as well. And after that, it's open for debate if we do templating stuff. So 20.1 is PDF download for interactive grids. That's my answer.
Okay, thanks, Menno. The next one's going here to Vlad. Yangs asks, when does the ADW's Apex support friendly URL?
This is a good question. This is Vlad. Hi. Many customers are asking as well when they will be able to use custom domain names or vanity URLs with Apex and Autonomous Database. And the answer is it is on a short-term roadmap. A lot of customers are asking, and we are looking very closely, and hopefully it will be coming soon.
Okay, thanks, Vlad. So a couple questions here. I might put Christian Neumiller on the spot here. Adam Kansmeyer says, regarding the SAML protocol question, my understanding is the HTTP header variable authorization isn't supported with ATP at this time. Is there another option for SAML SSO with ATP? And Wendy Liu also asks, will Apex support SAML-based authentication eventually? So Christian Neumiller, would you like to take that, or would you like me to?
No, sure, it's fine. I'm just no YouTube star, so no video. I already added some kind of SAML support in Apex 19.2, but it's not enabled, and some parts are missing. We are testing it. We are using it for some internal systems already, but it's not production ready yet. It will come eventually for on-premises or for where you have a control over your web server. You can use some, for example, Apache model like model of Melon and set this up, and then this web server module passes a HTTP header to Apex, and Apex can use HTTP header authentication for the builder and also for your own applications. This should, I mean, header authentication is supported on ADW, but it doesn't really make sense when you don't have control over your web server.
That's right. And if I can augment this a little bit, Chris Rice and the ORDS team, they're looking at options for customers to stand up their own version of ORDS and connect to Autonomous Database. And if that's permitted, then you effectively will be able to use header variable authentication. And one of the biggest gating factors, so our goal for Apex is to be able to support SAML out of the box with no other infrastructure, just like we do with generic OpenID and OAuth 2 today. And we've been effectively blocked by the lack of certain encryption algorithms available in the Oracle database. And oddly enough, Christian and I, we have a meeting this Friday with the security group from the database team to get these APIs added to the core database. So once that's there in the Oracle database, then we'll be able to support this out of the box with Apex. Okay. This one's going to Shakib on, this is from Adam again, on ATP. What is the best way to know when a PSE or a patch set exception or a bug fix has been applied?
Sorry, Joel, I'm going to punt that to Vlad if that's okay.
Sure. So there is no documented way to find that out, but when we apply PSEs, we make a note in the view called Apex instance parameters, I think. And we make a record when the PSE was applied and the date when that occurred. I know that in a future release of Apex, there will be actually a documented way to determine if you're running on the latest PSE bundle that we publish. But for now, you can try and look into this Apex instance parameters view and for that information there.
Okay, thanks, Vlad. So this is a question that came in before the office hours, and this one goes to Shakib. Hopefully you don't delegate this one, Shakib. Should I refresh the universal theme in my apps after every Apex upgrade?
So that's a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes, you should. So every time you upgrade to a new version of Apex, the first thing that I like to do is go into my universal theme application, and then go into shared components, themes, and then you can go and refresh that theme to the latest version of universal theme that's shipped with that release of Apex. Once you do that, you'll notice your application has now a new Vita theme style. If you're using a custom one or you theme rolled your own, that is intentional. Don't worry about it. You can open up Theme Roller in your application and then go back to the theme style that you're originally on. We do this because you may have customizations, and we need to recompile that the theme style using Theme Roller. So I definitely encourage everybody to go and refresh Universal Theme as soon as they upgrade, and then go and run Theme Roller, reapply your previous theme, and then that's it.
Okay, thanks, Shakib. This really is a question now for Patrick Wolf. Also came in beforehand. What other actions should I take after upgrading to a new release of Apex?
Actually, a good question. As Shakib already said, I think the first thing is definitely upgrading your universal theme. But I think upgrading Apex instance to your new release is also always a good chance to modernize your Apex application a little bit. So I would suggest to go into the application upgrade wizard, which shows areas of your application, regions, pages, which you could improve. Like we have introduced a new feature, or we have deprecated something, and the application upgrade wizard will help you to migrate and upgrade your existing application to take up a new region type or something else as well. Just to clean up your application, because if you have started to create your application, let's say 10 years ago, as we know, it's easy to import those old applications into Apex without actually having to modify anything. I think it's still a good chance to clean it up a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. I have another zinger coming here for Vlad, and this is from anonymous attendee. How much concurrency of Apex in ADW can provide? The rate of concurrency in ADW's CPU account, can it be used in product system? I think production system. So Vlad, I guess the open question to you is, how scalable is Apex on Autonomous Database?
It's an interesting question, and in many cases, this is really a function of ORDS in the connection pool. Apex itself doesn't really, we know that the Apex engine is optimized and very quick. In terms of autonomous, the connection pool that Oracle Managed ORDS establishes to Autonomous Database is fixed. So even though you might add OCPU to your Autonomous Database and increase the number of allowed database sessions to your Autonomous Database, the ORD connection pool currently will be static. It will not scale as much. So there will be some boundary at what point you will not be able to sustain more incoming web requests. So that's one factor, but also in terms of, and another point is if you're using, for example, always free database, then that connection pool will be also smaller. So the performance or the ability to sustain a lot of requests will be less in always free database. So for now, it is what it is. You cannot really scale this particular setup. We are looking into ways to kind of deal with that in the future. But as far as production, we are aware of customers running production applications already on Autonomous Database, production Apex applications. And it seems that they are quite happy with that too. So.
Okay, thanks, Vlad. I'll also point people to a tongue-in-cheek blog post I wrote back in actually 2014 called "Finally, the Official Sizing Guide for Oracle Application Express." And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek because there is no magic formula, right? Are you a wizard at writing efficient SQL, or do you suck at writing SQL? That's going to impact the scalability and concurrency of any application and not just Apex. Forgive me if this has already been asked and answered, but this is coming up a number of times. And this goes back to Vlad, right? He's the main of the hour. When will Apex on Autonomous support vanity URLs?
Yeah, I was going to actually type that answer just now. And this is on a short-term roadmap. Many customers are asking for this, and we're looking into it pretty much as we speak.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Vlad. I'll take this one. This is from Kevin Zhang. He said, I don't see anything called IE mode in Chromium Edge. Did Google search also and can't seem to find it in New Edge? I'll share that QR code with you. It was an article posted by Microsoft today. Okay. Question for David Bliss from I'm guessing this is Taj. How to import pages from different workspaces. Will the new split feature in export help?
If you have a different workspace, the applications, no, it won't help. How about that? Because we have the security group ID or the workspace ID is embedded in part of the application.
Okay, thanks, David. This one's going to David Peak from RM. Are there any samples or presentations on how to automate Apex deployments using Hudson or any other deployment framework? Great question.
It is a great question. No, we don't. As we're improving our ability to do exports and what have you, we will be putting out blog posts and what have you on how to improve your, CI/CD type of things. And hopefully we'll include more of that detail then.
Okay, thanks, David. I'll put this maybe to Patrick Wolf. This is from Paul Jones, asks, are there any improvements planned to the Apex Advisor, e.g. marking false positives, IG support, etc.?
So there are no short-term, speaking about Apex 20.1 plans to improve the Apex Advisor, but we definitely have it on our long-term roadmap to improve the Apex Advisor. And like false positives, I think that's a very important thing. What customers also have asked is that you can run the advisor as part of your nightly jobs, so that you don't have to run them in the application builder. We would also like to use that output that it show displayed inline in the page designer. So long term, definitely we want to make some improvements, but it's always a question of priorities.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Let's see. Kevin Zhang says, what will happen if I run Apex 20.x in IE11 later this year? Who'd like to take that one?
I can take it. I mean, we deprecate IE11 in Apex 20.1. That means it's still going to be supported. We always deprecate a feature, and then the following release we desupport it. So Apex 20.1 will still support IE11. Apex 20.2 will no longer support IE11. And Apex 20.1 will remain supported for a couple of years till 2025. So if IE11 is the requirement, then there will still be a version of Apex supported for some time that supports IE11.
Okay, thanks, Mark. This next one's going to go to Anthony from Alistair Steele. Uh-oh, it just vanished.
Sorry, I just answered it in there, but I can also,
Yeah, can you read the question and then say the answer, please? Sorry, you jammed me.
Apologies. So the question is, and this has actually been asked by two people on the chat now, which is for dynamic actions to add the conditionality to the actual true and false actions. So currently you can only define the condition, and that's both server-side condition and client-side condition at the dynamic action level, not at the true or false action level. And it would indeed make it much more flexible and reduce the need to create separate dynamic actions for some functionality to add that conditionality at true and false action level. It's not currently there. It's not currently planned for 20.1, but it is on the list, near the top of the list for future enhancements. So perhaps we could look at that for 20.2, but yeah, nothing in 20.1 currently.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Yangs asks another great question. How does ADW Apex to meet high parallel access scenario? And coincidentally, this is something that we were discussing yesterday, and then Connor McDonald raised to me an email today, because the session pool that's used by ORDs to connect to Autonomous Database is effectively in this low resource group, which prevents parallel query. And in the case of Autonomous Database and Data Warehouse, you would want a parallel query. So great question. I don't even know what the answer is, but it's something that ideally we'd like to be able to support. So you can build Apex applications against Autonomous Database, and the actual query you run would support parallelism, but it's actually not there today. So great question. Don't have an answer. Very important for us. Okay. Taj asks, and this is, I guess, whoever wants to take this one. Any easier way or a predefined view to get all the PL SQL written in pages? Fantastic question.
I'll go ahead and jump in on that. So the answer is currently no. There is no predefined view. It is something that has been asked for, or a way to be able to look at all this PL SQL and or SQL queries. And so that is something that's been under discussion recently as of yesterday. And so we're looking into it.
Okay, thanks, David. Another question for Vlad from Rasmus Edwards. So another follow-up question would then be, how many connections can ORDs handle? How many users could work concurrently? And I guess I don't know if this is in the context of Autonomous Database or on premises, but let's assume, Vlad, you can answer the question for Autonomous Database, please.
Yes, I was thinking that this was in the context of Autonomous Database, because if it's on premises, then it's a factor of you specifying the ORDs connection pool in the ORDs configuration, right? In Autonomous Database, for trial and paid databases, the connection pool is, I think, at 100 database connections. Whether this means 100 users or actually more depends on your application. If your application is very tuned for performance, you can actually sustain more concurrent users than just 100. And if you are on always free Autonomous Database, the connection pool size, I think, is 20.
It is. All right, thanks, Vlad. right? This is a question for Hillary from Joel. Are there any new chart types coming in the newer versions of Apex?
So for the 20.1 release, there are no plans to integrate new chart types, but we do certainly hope to extend the support in future releases. In particular, I'd like to build out the Gantt chart support and uptake a number of the new functionality that Jet have made available with the later versions, because the earlier versions were still, I guess, not providing a one-to-one mapping to the legacy AnyChart solution. So it seems to be getting closer to it, and we'd like to expose that declaratively.
Okay, thanks, Hillary.
Sure.
Any other questions that anybody wants to address on here? There are still some live ones. I want to open this up to the rest of the team.
Joel, if I may, I'm going to put David Bliss on the spot. There's a question from Fabrizio at 819. In my organization, we have a Git platform to save our applications. Will Apex in future release support also Git in order to make backups of the applications?
So the quick answer is you can use the export utility, either command line and or through the zip that I showed. Oh, and by the way, that zip feature also works with your doing a page export or a component export. So by doing an export and splitting all your files, you can check those into Git and or any type of version control you have. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, or are you requesting having a Git feature built directly into the builder?
Joel, if I may, I'm going to continue on and throw a question to Patrick, which is about the new syntax, from EJ. He's asking about the friendly URLs and how will the URLs be changing? Will they be using the F*P syntax?
So for you as a developer, actually nothing will change. So in the builder or in the builder, you just enable friendly URLs for your application, and we will take sure that the end user sees the nice URLs. As a developer, you don't have to change anything. You also don't have to link with the friendly URL syntax. You're just using property editor and page designer to reference a page, and you specify which page item we want to set, and we will translate that into the friendly URL at runtime. You could even have your F*P syntax within your SQL statement, what we actually don't recommend. There is an Apex API. Christian has added, I think, 2 releases back. It's called apex_page.getURL, which is an easy way to generate you friendly URLs. Looks like I'm frozen. Maybe all others are too. And that's actually the way how you would link to pages. So.
Wow, I think Patrick's gone. Wow.
Okay. Oops, sorry, Joel.
I got a question here. Sorry, David, and this is whoever wants to take it. So we see that the application builder has a new Redwood UI. Will customers be able to create Redwood UI applications themselves?
I can take that, Joel. In the future, yes, we intend to provide a Redwood theme style in a future release of Apex. Probably not for 20.1. There's still quite a lot happening with the Redwood design direction and so on. So it's constantly evolving, but we do plan to have a Redwood look and feel for the Apex builder, also available in a light and dark mode for the builder.
Okay, there's a question that I'm going to take from Trusha. Any option to create one master with 2 details in 20.1? And the answer is absolutely. And even the wizard prompts you, right? So you start with the master and you can add multiple details there. And I wrote an Oracle Magazine article, I don't know, a year or 2 ago, showing exactly the same thing. So you can have unlimited details. And it's been in Apex for at least the past couple of years. So that's a no-brainer. Okay, David, any others?
Yes, I'm going to throw one to Christina from Anonymous. Are there any changes to the standard pages that are created when you create an application from a file?
No, there hasn't been any changes in terms of creation of the standard pages. So whenever you upload a file from Create Application Wizard, it's actually creating pages in standard way. But in Apex 19.2, in the latest, we added a faceted search page on top of report and form page and dashboard pages, because that's one of the marquee feature in 19.2.
Also, one of the great things that you'll notice, or you may notice when you generate your applications, is things like your audit columns are not showing up in your reports and things like that. So there's a lot of work that the team are doing behind the scenes to make sure that the applications that are generated are far superior as we move forward. They're getting more and more intelligent. So there's a lot of work being done to make it as easy as possible to create great looking applications straight off the bat. If you want, Joel, I'm going to actually throw this question to you. It's one from Kevin Zhang about I want to see a single page application in the sample apps similar to Twitter. Do you want to talk about what's happening?
I'm going to delegate this to, well, there are 2 new package apps coming, but I'll delegate the single page application question to Shakib or Tim or whoever you like.
Yeah, I can answer that. So overall, actually, to answer Kevin's question, there's also another question about, are we going to see that movie sample application that we kind of demonstrated before that shows you how to build a nice mobile UI and maybe like a Twitter-like application. And right now, there are no short-term plans to, provide these as sample applications, although I think that's a great idea. And I do hope that in future releases, we will have additional samples, which shows you, here's a really nice, robust mobile application, or here's a simple single page app like Twitter, or here's like a Dropbox-like application you could build. So I think we have there's some good ideas here for sample applications, but not for 20.1.
Thanks, Shakib. This is a question for Doug. This is from expert user Joel. I really need some basic workflow capabilities in my application. What can I do today, and will there be anything in Apex in the future that would help me?
So basic workflow being workflow with a small w, not giant workflow with many, many branches and things. There are things out there today that you could use. There's an open source library called PLFlow that's all written in PL SQL. There are a number of different presentations and blog posts out there about integrating Apex with things like Camunda community version and whatnot. But we are looking into creating a more basic workflow baked into Apex that's kind of more a simple state machine that allows you to say, okay, if certain conditions are met, then kick off this particular thing, and that thing may be sending an email or calling a web service or running a PL SQL package, and those steps can kind of cascade. So we're definitely looking into that. That's kind of on the midterm roadmap.
Thanks, Doug. User Joel will be very happy with that. Okay, 2 questions, if you don't mind, I'm going to take. One is Yang's. He says, as we know, the 5G is coming soon. Whether does Apex have the related support plan to collect IoT data from sensors? And from an Apex standpoint, I'll say no, right? There are no plans to integrate IoT directly with Apex, but you can integrate the Oracle database with Kafka, for example. And I was working with Miguel and Adrian from the Mexico Development Center just a couple days ago, building an Apex app and querying the data stream coming from Kafka, right? All just directly from SQL. So no direct integration with Apex, but with the database, effectively you can do that today. Also a question from JDA says, any timeline updates on MLE? And the Oracle Labs team is working with the database division on integrating Graal VM, or the multilingual engine, with the Oracle database. And that will not be in Oracle Database 20, but in the next version of the database after that. We being Christian and Patrick and I, we met with the Oracle Labs team back in December, and we're putting together a plan to do further testing of this. And effectively, we want Apex to support this the moment that the version that Oracle database supports this. Basically, we're going to bake it into Apex, and then when the database version's released, Apex will support it natively. And I believe that their first target is JavaScript with other languages to follow after that. Okay, any other questions? David, did you come across any?
Yeah, I've got one here for Shakib that came in from Adam Cansmere about the social icons, Twitter, Instagram for Font Apex, and he couldn't find them when he was searching. Do you want to take that one?
Sure. So that is correct. Social icons have been removed from Font Apex when we went open source with Font Apex. So because of that, we couldn't ship the social or branding logos and icons. However, within Apex, we have another icon library that we use for the Apex builder, and those that library does have some of these social icons there. So if you were to use, FA-Twitter or FA-Facebook, the icon would still work. It would just be coming in from the Apex builder font. It's not in Font Apex. So I hope that answers it. It's only there for the most popular social networks, I think, which are just like 4 or 5.
Okay, great. And I've got another question here that I'm going to throw to Bo from Andrew Schultz. I'm sorry to learn that the Apex Dev Days were cancelled for 2020. Is there a plan to have any future Apex Dev Days events?
Yes, we do. There is actually a virtual workshop that we're planning right now called Autonomous Database for Apex Developers that will have some of that content. If you're interested, check out my Twitter page or the Oracle Apex Twitter page. The in-person App Dev Days that had recently occurred that was canceled, we are planning a different session for those in different cities. So as soon as those are planned, I will send out an announcement via Twitter too.
Thanks, Bo. I have a question for Hillary. From anonymous attendee, will there be a PL SQL API and interactive grid like we have the API for interactive report in the next release?
Literally about to type a response to the person when you moved it off the queue. Perfect timing. Yes, the hope is to provide Apex IG API. Fingers crossed in the upcoming release. So that's the plan, with a similar functionality to the Apex IOR API guide that's there for interactive reports.
All right, thanks, Hills. Another one I'm just going to open up to anybody. Great question from Evo Brewer. Are there any plans to support offline pages? We have employees on the road, and it does sometimes occur they have no internet available. Classic question.
I'll take a stab. I'll take a stab at that and say that there's nothing short term, but it's a direction that I think is very compelling that I'm interested in. It's tied in with the PWA topic, progressive web apps, that we'll hear more about next month. So I guess I would summarize by saying it's something that we'll keep an eye on, nothing short-term planned right now.
Okay, thanks, John. We have 2 more minutes. David, any other questions?
I'm not seeing any directly in here. Actually, I've got one at the top here. That was answered very early on that I'm going to ask to the team from Ram Posham. I haven't tried, but is there a simple UI to develop report form applications where the report is not a simpler tabular one? So plans for faceted search other than using cards or the current classic report. Carsten, I'm going to throw that one to you, given you've got your arms crossed.
Yeah, so as you know, faceted search was the new feature in 19.2, which supports, as you said, David, classic reports and cards layout. And in the long run, but not for 21, we are planning to open that up to other region types. But for charts, for calendar, and all sorts of region types, so that we can use facets to control these regions. But this will not happen for 20.1. It will be post 20.1.
And obviously that's under our safe harbor as well.
All right, I got
to add something. In the case it wasn't faceted search, you can have an interactive report which supports complex filters for your report page. So Only in the case if it's really a faceted search report page, then we have this restriction.
Okay, last question, and this is going to go to Karsten. From Bill, for the data load wizard, any plans on streamlining that with options to go from the first page of the process to the last, skipping the second or third pages? The four-step process works, but sometimes it's confusing to my users.
Yeah, so as you know, in 19.1 last year, we introduced new data loading to SQL Workshop, which introduces new formats, but also a new architecture for data loading. And our plans are to enable that new architecture for the data loading wizard as well, which will also allow you to build data loading wizards which don't follow the strict four-step flow anymore. But again, as my previous answer with faceted search, this won't happen in 21 and will be post 22, bracket open, safe harbor, bracket close.
Okay, thanks, Karsten, and you froze there. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. Don't forget, we have the session with Vincent Morneau next month. You go to apex.oracle.com/office hours. I wanted to thank everyone for your time today. So thanks everyone in total for attending. I wish everyone a great year, and we'll talk to you next month. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.